then guys, this is a little case study on season 1 episode 1 of Friends. We're also going to break this down in terms of context and the other key concepts as well. So starting off then with our contextual references. The dress codes and hairstyles that we have within the first episode indicate that this is based firmly in the 90s, and in fact it was made in 1994. The way that the characters treat and discuss Ross's ex-wife are also indicative of the time, but remember that it was very brave at the time for the show to portray same-sex relationships. Now the locations that we have are also representative of the time given, particularly through the colour and props that are used within them. So particular Monica's apartment, which has quite a mix of different sorts of styles. Going to our character representations then. Monica is presented as being sort of gullible because she falls for the line from Paul the wine guy. She's also quite controlling, but also knowledgeable as well, given that she's working towards being a chef. Ross is very intellectual, but when we see him, he's also very miserable and very serious as well. Chandler, he's the wisecracker. He makes quick one-line remarks, very easygoing, but also a little bit insecure about himself as well. Phoebe's unusual. If you watch any more episodes of Friends, which again I suggest you do, you'll see that she's a survivor, but she's generally very cheerful and friendly as well. Joey, he's the womanizer, he's charming, he's optimistic, and Rachel is very unaware, childish, but also means well in what she does. Now in terms of our settings then, Central Perk is relaxed, dated though, particularly when we're looking at it through a modern audience. Recognisable and relatable to the audience because, you know, we have coffee shops that are around today that are quite nice places to go and hang out, and also it's a very easy filming location through the fact that we can get a variety of different camera shots in there. Monica's apartment, very colourful, very eclectic, so a mix of lots of different styles and very welcoming, and it's central to the narrative as well, particularly given that Joey and Chandler live just across the hall. Now in terms of our camera shots, we have a lot of panning shots when we're used from going from scene to scene, and also from going from different location to different location. Wide shots are used with conversations between the characters. We also get an over-the-shoulder shot when we are watching Monica and Paul sort of the morning after the night before. We get more mid-shots in this particular show, which give more intimacy to the conversations, because we can not only see who's talking to who, but we can also get some gestures from the characters as well. Now in terms of our non-diegetic sound, the music is very easygoing. It's based off the initial theme tune and is used to indicate these transitions from location to location. The theme tune is also indicative of the narrative for the entire show, because if we listen to those lyrics, it's all about the sort of day-to-day life of the characters and the things that might go wrong. Now in terms of our audience appeal, all of the characters are relatable, and the episodes all have their own plot, and they all sound very conversational. The one with, the one where. Now the way that the characters interact creates humour, as well as the fact that the situations that the characters find themselves in create humour, but they're relatable and represent real life. Now crucially, it's very easy for passive and active audiences to consume this show. Alright, in terms of our context then, one way that the show is relatable is that it sort of gives this idea of the American dream. The American dream being that you can achieve anything you want as long as you work for it. And in a sense, each of the characters is sort of striving for their version of the American dream. Now, New York has been seen as the centre of making dreams come true, and it's almost viewed as a rite of passage for young adults and young people to move out there in search of their dream and to try and make their dreams come true. Now, Friends has also been defining in terms of sitcoms and examples of sitcoms, and it's one of the most well-known sitcoms of all time now. Now, in terms of social context, women and men sort of stick to their traditional roles within the show, even Monica, because although she's got a job and appears to be more educated, she's a chef, and so it's sort of fulfilling with this idea of traditional women's roles. Now the show, as we've said before, was very brave to deal with some of the issues that come up today, particularly same-sex relationships. Even if it criticised it in a way that we saw on screen, the fact that it was featuring it at all was completely different to anything that had ever been seen before. And they did actually have a same-sex wedding within the show as well. Now the characters span a variety of different social representations, so let's take a look at culture. There's also a range of different cultures that are occurring throughout the show. So Ross and Monica are Jewish, Joey's Italian American, and Phoebe is more sort of hippie-like and spiritual. And so it seems really unusual that all of these cultures can come together and can form such a sort of sturdy friendship, but that's kind of what the show's about. Now, politically, it was produced during a period where the Democrats lost power to the Republicans. Not that that really impacts on the show as a whole. Now, in terms of our other key concepts, in terms of the language, the mise-en-scène is designed to be relatable, so we want to see as much content that is relatable as possible because the show is designed to represent the day-to-day lives of the demographic. It's also designed to do that in terms of the situations and the characters that are in the show. And one of the reasons why I think we have so many characters in Friends is so that there's somebody for everybody out there to make the audience far more broad. Now, in terms of our industry, the show was created by David Crane and Marta Kaufman. They also created the theme tune, and so it was produced by Bright Kaufman in conjunction with Warner Brothers. It's had several distributors. Predominantly it's distributed by NBC and Channel 4, and the repeats are aired mostly on Channel 4 and Comedy Central as well. Also available on Netflix, so we can see that it's available on these streaming services that are popular today. Now, in terms of our audience, mostly it's going to be 18 to 35 females who are B2D explorers and mainstreamers, but we need to remember that there is a secondary demographic who are 40 plus, who may fall into the A or E categories, and they too are going to be mainstreamers. It's worthwhile noting that these are the original audience. And finally, for our representation, the characters all fit one particular type or trope which they stick to throughout the entire 10 seasons of the show, and this is how those situations and interactions can help to cause the comedy. Everything about the locations and characters is made relatable in order to make the show successful. And the characters are also exaggerated versions of people within society. That's why we all know a Monica or we all know a Rachel. It's just that the ones we see on screen are a little bit more exaggerated. Hopefully that was helpful. Here are your key terms today. Perhaps pick one or two and make sure you know the definitions to them, you understand what they're about so you can use them within your work. If you have any questions or comments about this video, please pop them in the comments section below or get in touch with me through Twitter at media_revision. If you could subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it, that'd be great. You get instant notifications every time I post a new video, and I'll see you guys later for another video.